everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Coop Radio Presents NASCAR Stuff. Still haven't came up with a new name. God, I'm so lazy. I think I haven't came up with a new name yet, mostly just because of the fact that I haven't. Once I find a name, I'm just going to stick to it. And nothing I've really thought of yet has stuck to me anyways. But don't worry, I'll come up with something soon. Anyways, a lot of stuff to cover from last week going into this past weekend and all the happenings that transpired at Martinsville with the O'Reilly Series race. I think I'm finally getting into the mode of just calling it the O'Reilly Series finally. Xfinity's finally out of my head. Now that I say Xfinity, I'm going to start saying Xfinity again in the episode. But I think O'Reilly is finally in my head as far as calling that secondary series what it is. But a lot of happenings from the O'Reilly Series and the Cup Series race. We'll talk about that later on. But first, I want to dive into this because I am way too fucking late on this. Holy shit. I don't know if I need to pick a later day in the week. Maybe I need to just wait another day. Maybe I need to do it on Tuesdays, record on Tuesdays and then post on Wednesdays, because it seems like everything that news-wise happens like the Tuesday that I upload. This has now happened, I think, 2 weeks in a row now, where the major news of the previous week happens the Tuesday midday after I've already uploaded and posted my episodes, the NASCAR episodes all my episodes go up at Tuesday 6 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Eastern, and all the news happens after they're already uploaded and I've already recorded, and so I'm already so late, and I don't want to every week do like an emergency show or an emergency podcast just to talk about the major news that happens hours after I upload. Like that's just fucking stupid. So I don't know. I'll think about maybe moving it back a day. It's tough because the way my schedule is Monday night is usually the most open for me as far as being able to sit down, get everything set up, and record the show. Whereas Tuesday night I have something, and so then I'm kind of rushing. And with my work schedule, if I'm get home too late, then I'm really rushing. And for any of the NASCAR fans out there that do iRacing, I have an iRacing league that I do on Tuesday nights. And so then it's like around the exact time that I would record on a Monday night. So then what I would literally have to do is I would have to go do my iRace, if that's what you want to call it, my iRacing league race. I'd have to go do that and then get done at like 10 o'clock my time or something like that by the time I actually finally leave and get off. And at that point, it's like, all right, I'm so late into the night, and now I'm going to set up and get ready to record another 2-hour podcast or something like that. Like, Jesus Christ. And then Wednesdays, funny enough, I'm supposed to be doing a podcast on Wednesday nights, but we haven't been doing a podcast on Wednesday nights. But Wednesday is already kind of late in the week, and, you know, everyone's already kind of talked about everything, so it's tough, you know what I mean? You want to be one of the first people out there talking and be one of the first shows to post and talk about the stuff that happened over the previous weekend and NASCAR wise, but you don't want to wait too late in the week and be behind, but then you don't want to obviously miss all the news that I've seemingly missed. Anyways, I spent the first 4 minutes of this ranting, but let's dive into the news that I missed. Boy, oh boy, they just let anybody talk about NASCAR nowadays, huh? They'll just let any Joe Schmo come in and rant and rave about any sort of personal feelings that he has, wrong or right. And it seems like mostly wrong when it comes to whoever Dale Jr. hires to be on his podcasts. I'm just going to go ahead and play the clip, a clip that probably everybody has already heard a million times, but let's just go ahead and listen to the controversial clip from this past week's episode on the Dale Jr. download. There was a conversation about Justin Allgaier that transpired, and it turned into the most talked about thing all week last week, heading into the weekend at Martinsville. So let's hear what this controversial take was.
Justin Allgaier, Hall of Famer.
No.
Not yet. What if he wins another championship?
I don't think Xfinity, O'Reilly, Busch, Nationwide should count. That should be.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Why would it not?
It's the NASCAR Hall of Fame, not the NASCAR
It's under
Cup.
the NASCAR banner.
It's not the NASCAR Cup Hall of Fame.
I mean, if you look at some of the accomplishments, it's not
Wow,
all
that
in
is
Cup.
that is a pretty take.
That is really take. That's actually
A lot of nodding in here too. A lot of other people agree. It's pretty bad.
That's kind of dumb.
It is literally not the Cup Series Hall of Fame.
But Major League Baseball
This isn't baseball.
includes everything.
I know.
Okay, well,
that's Major League Baseball. They are literally saying this is Major League Baseball, MLB, the top. So the NASCAR Hall of Fame is Cup and more.
There's a lot of guys that have really great accomplishments that just didn't time
great,
out
but
right.
It's the Hall of, in my opinion, it's the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of really good.
No one ever came in and said, "Hey, y'all, this is just Cup only," and you're saying that.
Yeah.
Well, it's not. It's not the Hall
That's
of
my
Cup.
opinion.
But you're
changing it.
I know you're changing literally what the Hall of Fame is. It's not.
Yeah.
You asking me if I would vote someone in. I'm saying no, I wouldn't.
All right.
Oh my God. They really just will let anybody talk about NASCAR. Holy shit. I'm saying that obviously ironically, considering the fact that I am just some random fan talking about NASCAR myself. You know what I mean? I'm obviously saying that facetiously. I'm saying that ironically. Listen, I don't know who Travis is. All I know that he's, let's be honest here, what he's mostly been known for, in my opinion, and I think among most people that listen to Dirty Mo Media podcast, DBC, Actions Detrimental, the Dale Jr. Download. If anybody listens to Bianchi and Gluck's podcast, good for you, I guess. I don't know anybody who does, besides Clips. But as far as that group of people, anybody who's associated with Dirty Mo Media, I think that most people honestly would view Travis as kind of the, obviously he's just the producer of the shows. He's just the guy sitting behind the camera who reads the levels, makes sure the audio is good, makes sure the cameras are good and everything like that. And he kind of just is the producers of the show. He kind of just helps produce the shows, which, at the end of the day, hey, good for him, I guess. He gets to be the guy that hangs out with Denny Hamlin, and he can brag to his friends that he hangs out with Dale Jr. and TJ Majors and everybody else on DBC, and he can be he can be a cool guy within his friend group. But at the end of the day, asking this person for his opinions on NASCAR, I think at the end of the day, we can't take this too seriously. A lot of people, though, are taking it very, very seriously as far as, oh my God, I can't believe Travis went out and said that Justin Allgaier is an Hall of Famer. I can't believe that he says the guys who didn't make it to Cup and weren't good in Cup don't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Listen, he did say at the end of the day, it is his opinion. And yes, everybody is entitled to their own opinions. I'm entitled to mine. You're entitled to yours. You can believe whatever you want to believe as far as, whether somebody's good or bad, whether somebody deserves to be in the Hall of Fame or not. You can believe whatever you want. You can believe that, we never landed on the moon or something like that. You can believe whatever you want. At the end of the day, no one can force you to believe anything else. So at the end of the day, Travis can sit there and say, hey, I believe only the Cup guys should be in the Hall of Fame, and we should only award the guys who actually make it to the top echelon of NASCAR to be Hall of Famers. But I'm going to be as civil as I can be in my argument here. The thing about NASCAR, and compared to stick and ball sports, which at the end of the day, good God, I hate whenever we compare a motorsport to a stick and ball sport. NASCAR is not football, baseball, basketball, hockey, soccer, golf, tennis. It doesn't matter. Any sort of stick and ball sport, NASCAR is not like it. Motorsports in general are not like it. IndyCar is not like it. F1 is not like it. IMSA is not like it. Any sort of World of Outlaw racing is not like it. Motocross is not like it. It doesn't matter what motorsport you choose. Motorsports, in my opinion, cannot be directly compared to stick and ball sports. They are very different. And especially when it comes to, in NASCAR in this case, where people, drivers, who are very talented, most of the time get rewarded for their talent. If you are good enough, depending upon the opportunities that you get, you are inevitably going to work your way up in the NASCAR series. That being said, there are still a large swath of people within NASCAR who are very talented, who never get their opportunities. So comparing it, if you want to compare it to a stick and ball sport, comparing it to football. If you're good enough in college, you're going to get drafted into the NFL. Compared to this year, Fernando Mendoza, who's going to inevitably go first overall in the NFL draft this year. One of, if not the best college players from this past season, playing for Indiana, won the national championship. He was very good in college. That is inevitably going to translate to him getting rewarded for his accomplishments in college by being drafted probably first overall in the NFL draft. And therefore, he's going to get paid the most amount of money compared to everybody else that gets drafted behind him. And therefore being rewarded by being selected by an NFL pro football team. And he is inevitably going to obviously also start for said NFL team. So the accomplishments that he had in the lower series, college, directly correlate to the reward that he's going to get for being selected by an NFL team and starting for an NFL team and getting paid the millions of dollars that he's going to get paid for playing for an NFL team. There are people, now comparing that, the direct comparison I can make from stick and ball sport NFL to NASCAR is college is like the O'Reilly series, where it's the step below the peak. It's the one last lower series that you have to get to before you get to the best of the best. In NASCAR, you can be one of, if not the best drivers in the O'Reilly series, in the quote college series, if you will, and yet still not be rewarded by being allowed to be in the Cup Series, in the top echelon of NASCAR, the quote NFL, if you will. There are people who last year dominated their respective series. In Corey Heim had one of the most dominant seasons in Truck Series history, if I'm not mistaken, who cannot and was not rewarded for said accomplishment by being given even a full-time ride in the O'Reilly series. And he is instead relegated to being stuck just picking and choosing part-time rides to try to fill out his season. And this is a guy who literally dominated in the most dominant fashion I think I've ever seen in a Truck Series season. Won the championship like running away. Won the most races, most laps led, like just insane numbers. And yet he can't even get a full-time ride, not only in the Cup Series, not only in the O'Reilly series, he can't even find a full-time ride in the same series he was just in. There's not even a full-time ride available for him in the Truck Series. The same series that he just went and dominated in. There have been plenty of people who have shown amazing levels of talent in the Truck Series and O'Reilly series, who have then made the move to the Cup Series, and inevitably there's not enough room for them in a good car. And so then they have to be put into a lower end car and almost start from scratch because they're in a lower end car. And it shaves years off their career because they're stuck in a lower end car that can't get past 30th. So how is it their fault? Is it Chris Buescher's fault when he won the, at the time, the nationwide championship for Roush in the 60 car and then made the jump to Cup and there was no room for him? So he had to run the, what was it, the 38 car for front row? No, excuse me, it was the 38 or the 34, one of the two. I think it was actually the 34. Where he got stuck running the 34 car and, for front row, and at the time, front row was not the front row we even know today, which, by the way, isn't even a top echelon team. It's just the gap is closer now, it seems. But still, there is a gap. And yet, the guy who won the nationwide championship, the O'Reilly Series now, their championship, made the move to Cup and got stuck in a low-end ride and had to just eat shit for how many years? And then now that he's in not even the best ride, but he's in just a half-decent ride, he's now gotten an opportunity to win multiple races and run up front and have top fives and have top tens. Case in point, the opposite example, where you have a guy like a Daniel Suarez, who won the Xfinity Series championship at the time, the O'Reilly Series championship. He won it in the 19. I'm pretty sure he won the championship. Maybe he didn't. But point being, he was running in the 19 car in the Xfinity Series, won multiple races, ran decently well, and then he got an opportunity in a JGR car, which, as I said on the last podcast, on the last show, at the time, and still is today, is one of the top three teams that you can be in NASCAR right now in the Cup Series. I mean, literally, that is the best Toyota team you can be. It can't be much better than that. I mean, you're literally on the same level of Hendrick and Penske, and that's, again, those are the top three teams in NASCAR Cup right now. They have been for how many years? And yet he squandered that away in so many ways and petered out into what he became. So is it Chris Buescher's fault that he didn't get the right opportunity? Is it Corey Haim's fault that he's not getting the right opportunity, that he's not getting the chance to showcase his talent? Because I guarantee you, anybody and their mother who has a brain and two eyes can tell that Riley Herbst should not be in the 35 car right now in the Cup Series, and the other currently signed to 2311 driver in Corey Haim should be in the full-time 35 car. And Riley Herbst should be the part-time guy. But there are so many other external factors comparing specific drivers that it's almost in a lot of ways unfair to certain people that get shafted and get stuck. Right now, where's their opportunities for guys in the O'Reilly Series or the Truck Series to move up into Cup Series right now? Where's the opportunity? All the spots are filled. No one's budging. It seems like every team that has a driver right now is seemingly at least somewhat satisfied with who they have, and maybe that might change towards the end of the season, but even comparing last season's Cup drivers to this season's Cup drivers, there was almost no movement. All the guys that were in the Cup Series last year are all been in the same rides that they are this year. The only small change is the Daniel Suarez move from Trackhouse to Spire, and then Zilich moving up. That was like the only move. Besides that, the roster is completely the same. So this idea that like you being stuck in the O'Reilly Series or being stuck in the Truck Series, in some cases, not your own doing. You have the talent to be a Cup Series driver, but you're not given that opportunity because of either sponsorship issues. There's no room for you. There's not a good enough ride for you to compete, and so therefore you're a prideful person, and you don't want to be stuck in a bottom end team ride. You're more prideful than that. You want to be in a competitive ride, and so then you take the O'Reilly Series, the O'Reilly Series opportunity. At the end of the day, there's not enough room. I mean, this is, I believe, the least amount of rides in the Cup Series that there's ever been. I mean, remember, there used to be, back in the day, 43 guys were racing every week, and I mean, hell, there was a point where there was 45, 46, 47 guys showing up every week trying to just qualify in. And that's on the low end. There were weeks where there was 50 guys showing up trying to qualify for whatever random Charlotte race. And if only 43 guys would get in, and 7 would get sent home. There's so little rides today in the Cup Series and so little opportunity that, I mean, nowadays, if you get an opportunity to race a Cup car, I mean, you're taking it. You're not. And let's put it this way also, remember, there's still rides in the Cup Series that are being taken by people who, let's be honest, don't deserve to be in the Cup Series. Find me somebody who believes that Cody Ware is deserving of being in a Cup ride right now. Find me somebody. Do you really think that Cole Custer is a real legitimate Cup Series contender? I mean, AJ Allmendinger's towards the end of his career. He's another guy who's bounced up and down. He was in the O'Reilly Series a couple years ago. Now he's back in Cup again. Austin Dillon, that ship has sailed. He has ran his course. It's not going to work. It's never going to work. I already mentioned Riley Herbst in what could be and probably should be a very competitive car. Speaking of Austin Dillon, his brother Ty. How many people really believe that Ty Dillon is a legitimate cup driver and deserves to be given a Cup opportunity? What has he done in his career that deserves him being awarded that opportunity besides, again, who he's related to? So this idea, back to this original point, this whole idea that, like, because you never made it to Cup and you never really worked out in Cup, you don't deserve to be a Hall of Famer. You're going to tell that to Ron Hornaday, a guy who dominated the Truck Series? You're going to tell that to the countless people who had the same exact problem that I just mentioned, where money just wasn't there for them. Sponsors were just not interested in helping them. They made it to Cup. They only got one opportunity. It didn't work out. They got booted real quick, and then they got stuck in the O'Reilly Series or the Truck Series for the rest of their careers, and there you go. Now you're never going to be a Hall of Famer. It doesn't matter how many O'Reilly Series races you win or how many championships you win down there. It doesn't matter how many Truck Series championships a Matt Crafton has or a Todd Bodine has or Ron Hornaday has. It doesn't matter about that. It doesn't matter your truck accomplishments. So let's just belittle those two series and just say they don't matter because they're not the Cup Series. It's asinine because at the end of the day, as Dale pointed out, and as anybody would point out, the NASCAR Hall of Fame is that. It is the Hall of Fame of NASCAR in its entirety. It is not the NASCAR Cup Series Hall of Fame. Now, are Cup Series drivers going to get more of the first ballot Hall of Fame inductions? Like, are they going to be the ones that are first ballot Hall of Famers moreover than the O'Reilly Series guys and the Truck Series guys? Yes, absolutely. Will it take Justin Allgaier a bit more time before he's inducted into the Hall of Fame than Carl Edwards, or than it took for Dale Jr. to get in, or any other Cup Series driver over the last how many years that's been inducted that's a recent exit, a recent retiree? Is it going to take Justin a little bit more time before he's inevitably going to be accepted into the Hall of Fame? Yes, absolutely. It's going to take him way more time. Because again, there is the stigma of, well, it's not the Cup Series, it's the O'Reilly Series, so you're going to have to wait a little bit. Look how many years it took for Ron Hornaday to be accepted into the Hall of Fame after his retirement. So this idea that, like, because you didn't get to Cup and you didn't win a bunch of races in Cup, or you didn't win a Cup championship, like, I'm even smart enough to admit that, like, hey, I don't like Denny. I think he's an asshat. I think he's an idiot. I think in so many different ways he's not. Just because he has a podcast does not mean that he should be the voice of the voiceless. But at the end of the day, the dude has won 60 races. It doesn't matter that he doesn't have a championship. He's won 60 plus races in Cup. He's won how many in the O'Reilly Series? He is a Hall of Famer. I'm at least smart enough and aware enough to admit that, like, yeah, it doesn't matter that you didn't win championships. It doesn't matter that you probably never win a championship. Maybe you will this year, but even if you don't, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, your accomplishments and what you have done over the length of your career, to me, award you a Hall of Fame. And yes, you were one of the lucky ones, Denny, that got an opportunity to race in Cup and got to race for just so happened to be what turned out to be one of the top teams in NASCAR, and you stuck there your entire career, seemingly. And because you stuck there your entire career, you get rewarded for it with 60 some odd wins. You stuck around long enough to where you get rewarded with 60 some odd wins, and therefore you're a Hall of Famer. But just because somebody didn't make it as far as your favorite driver doesn't mean that he's shafted. Doesn't mean that he's not worthy. And what's funny is there's another clip here that I want to play that was actually from earlier today. This is Denny responding to, because he hasn't had an opportunity as well himself. He posts his shows on Monday, I believe, Monday or Tuesday as well. This is, speaking of Denny, this is Denny and his opinion on the whole Hall of Fame debacle.
Travis, do you want to ask Denny his opinion on this?
What?
Hall of Fame.
Oh, I said I agreed with Kenny Wallace. I believe that most of the people that have adamant arguments for the lower series guys, they have a connection to them. I think it just depends on what you want the Hall of Fame to be. Go ask anyone that is a casual, do they know that there's like 6 series of NASCAR? No. And this is my opinion. It's not right. It's just my opinion. The Hall of Fame is the pinnacle. So my issue is, why is your multiple accomplishments at the grassroots? How does that allow you to just jump right to the pinnacle? Eric Jones, unfortunately, will probably never make it into the Hall of Fame. But if he ran O'Reilly's or trucks for 25 years like Matt Crafton, the guy would win 15 championships. The Hall of Fame is the pinnacle. I don't care what you accomplish in your career. If you get into the Hall of Fame, it is the pinnacle of your career. There is no higher accomplishment in your place of work than reaching the Hall of Fame. We can't do the ifs and buts without going the other way. So I just don't think you can judge them the same. To oversimplify this, I think it's okay if everyone they're talking about gets in, but it certainly should be a tiered system. It diminishes the greats, in my opinion.
Sometimes the Baseball Hall of Fame, nobody gets it.
And that's okay.
Why don't we just have a tier to where if you reach 75% of the vote, you're premier Hall of Fame? You know what I mean? Like, the pinnacle is the Hall of Fame. I just don't believe in skipping the steps to go straight to the pinnacle.
Travis.
Okay. A lot there to unpack. Number one, I am never a fan of adding tiers to anything and overcomplicating something. I'm never a fan of that. Never have been, never will be. Simplicity. It's like the stages and the playoff system. It's like, we don't need to overcomplicate shit and add more shit to confuse people at the end of the day. Because ultimately, you want to talk about confusing people that are casuals. Adding tiers to a Hall of Fame is only going to make it more it's only going to make it more complicated. It's only going to make it more confusing. So I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of adding tiers. The Hall of Fame is the Hall of Fame. We don't need to be adding asterisks to Hall of Fame inductees to accept lower series drivers to me. The example of Eric Jones, look, I understand his point of view. And like he said, it's his opinion. So whether it's right, or, like he said, whether it's right or wrong, it's just his opinion. And that's fair. Like I said about Travis earlier, you can have your opinion. Your opinion's wrong, but you can have your opinion. My whole thing with the example, though, the other way, like Denny's bringing it up, of like somebody who made it to the Cup Series and didn't win multiple races and win championships and have the level of success as an O'Reilly Series guy or a Truck Series guy, and he's therefore punished for it. I understand that point of view. But at the end of the day, also, the argument should be brought up of, well, I don't think that it's guys in the Truck Series or the O'Reilly Series are purposefully hiding from the Cup Series and purposefully not wanting to go to the Cup Series and purposefully staying in the Truck Series or the O'Reilly Series so they can just rack up stats. The reason that they're there is because the opportunity isn't there for them to move up. Ben Rhodes, who has a Truck Series championship, who has multiple Truck Series wins, I think if you asked him, hey, you're going to get a nice big bump in pay, you're going to be competing against better talent, and hopefully you'll be in just as good of a ride in the O'Reilly Series or the Cup Series. And we're gonna make you move up a series, or not even make you, excuse me. We're gonna ask you to move up a series. Do you think he's gonna turn to him and go, no? You think he's gonna turn to whoever is offering him that opportunity and go, nah, I'm good here. Nah, I'm just gonna stay at Thor Sport and trudge around here in the Truck Series and make a lot less money. No, I don't want that opportunity. I don't want the opportunity to move up and be in a higher echelon series where I'm more respected. No, I don't want to do that. I just want to stay here. I just want to stay in the Truck Series and just piddle around and rack up stats. I'm comfortable here. I don't want to move. Look, maybe there's 1 in 36 guys. You know, I think the argument also is, if there was anybody who were to say, yeah, I'm good where I'm at, it's the Justin Allgaiers. It's the Matt Craftons, the Ron Hornadays, the Ty Bodines, the Elliott Sadlers, when he was in the Nationwide and Xfinity Series forever. It's those guys who, look, they've either tried the higher series and it didn't work out, or no one's calling. No one's calling them to run their car. And they've been with said team, they've been with said series for so many years that at the end of the day, look, I'm not a Cup guy. I'm not an O'Reilly guy. Like, I'm either a Truck or an O'Reilly guy, and I'm going to stay here, and I'm going to make a good life out of it. And at the end of the day, if the Hall of Fame selects Justin Allgaier to go into the Hall of Fame, is that Justin Allgaier's fault? That, hey, look, he tried Cup. Allgaier tried Cup. He was in the 51 car. They didn't have the speed. Again, it was a lower end car, and luck just happened to fall away from him to where he didn't become a Cup guy, and he became an O'Reilly Series guy. Whereas the example of Alex Bowman around the same time was running the 23 car up in the Cup Series and was a bottom end guy and a bottom end team, and things just happened to fall a different way for him, and he became a Cup guy. And he's driving one of the top Cup cars in NASCAR right now. So, because luck didn't fall Allgaier's way, and trust me, it is luck. It's not a skill thing. It is all luck. I'm sorry, I'm not lucky enough to have the sponsors that you have to get me the opportunities that you got because either you know the right person or you're family or friends with the right person, or again, you just happen to luck and fall into the right set of people that just happen to like you as the driver, and so therefore they want to push you and help you. Some people don't get that. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, if somebody, like, it's unfair to compare people who worked their ass off, busted their tail, pushed themselves to the limit, scrounged as much money as they could, were poor, they didn't have family members who were in NASCAR or were already Cup drivers or whatever, and they only got to the O'Reilly Series, and it's as high as they could go. But you know what? When they were in the O'Reilly Series, they were dominant. They won X amount of races. They were, the best out there with whatever they were given, and therefore they are awarded because, hey, they only got to the O'Reilly Series, but they were very good in the O'Reilly Series, and so therefore they get selected into the Hall of Fame. Versus a guy like, I don't know, Davey Allison or Chase Elliott or Austin Dillon or Austin Cindric or the countless and Dale Jr., the countless number of people who were given opportunities in their career because of either who they related to, who they're friends with, or whatever sponsor pushed them to continue their career. These drivers owe their careers to certain sponsors because sponsors stuck with them from literally the start to the end. And they would not have made it to where they got without said sponsor, because literally if that sponsor didn't help them, their careers would be non-existent. So making this like direct comparison of like, because you didn't make it to Cup, you're not a Hall of Famer. It doesn't track here. This doesn't track. This is what pisses me off about these guys. Even guys like Denny are like, you didn't make it to Cup, so the idea that a Justin Allgaier being put in the Hall of Fame would tarnish the importance of the Hall of Fame and would diminish the greatness of guys like Dale Earnhardt or Richard Petty or Jeff Gordon or Jimmy Johnson or whomever. The fact that a guy like Justin Allgaier would get in and it would tarnish those guys' legacies is ridiculous. Their legacies are set in stone. Just because somebody else who happened to race the O'Reilly Series or the Truck Series their whole career, it diminishes the NASCAR Hall of Fame? How? So the argument can be made back to Denny. Okay, Denny, let's say that it didn't work out for you for you in Cup, and you raced with Joe Gibbs Racing, and you stuck with Joe Gibbs the whole time. But maybe Joe Gibbs didn't turn out to be as good of a team as they turned out to be, and they didn't have the best cars in Cup, and so therefore you were just kind of a mid-level guy to a low-level guy. You kind of fell off. You went to the O'Reilly Series, but hey, you made a hell of a career in the O'Reilly Series driving for Toyota. You won a bunch of championships down there. You won a bunch of races. Are you not a Hall of Famer? Should you not be in the Hall of Fame because you didn't work out in Cup? Because again, the luck of just not being put in a good car hindered you, and so therefore it held you back and only kept you in the O'Reilly Series, and you never made it and never won races and never won championships in the Cup Series. Should you not be a Hall of Famer? I can think you're the biggest asshat on the planet. It doesn't change the fact that if you won multiple championships in the O'Reilly Series and won, X amount of races for the 10, 15 years that you were down there or whatever, however many years Justin's been down there, probably not 15, but more so 10. Like, does that mean that you're not a Hall of Famer? Because trust me, I'd make the argument that you should be. You won how many races? You won how many championships? You had a great career. Just things didn't transpire for you. This is not stick and ball sports. Luck plays a lot into what certain people get. Certain people never see the Cup Series. They got well enough talent to be a Cup Series driver, and yet they never can see the Cup Series because the money's not there. Because they didn't sign with the right team and get in the right system. They didn't become a Toyota development driver and sign with JGR, so therefore they didn't follow the JGR path. They got, they were Zane Smith. And they signed with Front Row, were great in the Truck Series with Front Row, and now they signed again with Front Row because Front Row opened up an opportunity for him in the Cup Series, and now he'll run 20th his whole career, as long as he's with Front Row Motorsports. Luck plays a lot into this. This isn't stick and ball, where talent can shine through and you can be on a shit team in the NFL or the MLB or the NBA or the NHL, but you have insane talent, and because you're on a bad team doesn't mean that you're written off from the Hall of Fame. Your numbers can still shine through. But you can be the most talented. You can be. Look at Kyle Busch. Does anybody think that Kyle Busch is shit? He's the best example of somebody who got shafted with a terrible team now. Can't even run past 30th for most of the race. For the last how many races, he's given up. He has completely given up because he knows there's no hope. He's the best example of somebody who he himself has 60-some wins, 63 I'm pretty sure, has multiple Cup Series championships with one team. He goes to another team, his career collapses. He won a few races the first year he was with RCR, but besides that, his career has gone in the tank. And it's not because the talent isn't there, it's because the team around him isn't there. I'm off my soapbox now. I am. But listen, just this idea, and this is something that irritates me, this idea that we always compare motorsports to stick and ball sports. Cut that shit out. Can we cut that shit out? It is so irritating to me. It is so ridiculous to even think to compare motorsports in general, any motorsport, like I said earlier, to any stick and ball sport. It is not a comparison. Just because one guy is in the car does not mean that he is the team. There's a reason why guys, when they get out of the car, they thank the fucking team. Because it's not just the guy behind the wheel. It's the engineers. It's the fabricators. It's the tire changers. It's the gas men. It's the crew chief. It's the car chief. It's everybody else at the shop. It's the guy driving the semi. It's everyone. It's a team effort at the end of the day as far as getting a car to win races and win championships. It's not just one guy. One guy does not define the 45 team. Tyler Reddick, he may be a good amount of it. He may be most of it. But it's not just Tyler Reddick. It's Billy Scott. It's all the tire changers. It's the gas men. It's the jack guy. It's the fucking engineers. It's everybody else back at the shop at 2311. It's a team effort. This is a team sport. And I understand that just like in the NFL, the quarterback is the one who's got the microscope on him, and he's the one that everybody talks about as far as talking about any ex-team in the NFL, because he's the guy that touches the ball the most, and he's the one that gets paid the most, and he's the most important. Just like in NASCAR, the guy who's driving the car is the one who's got the most influence on how the race goes, and he can either help a team make up a couple spots on track, or he can help lose a team a couple spots on track, and he can help win them races, or he can help lose them races, or he can help win them championships or lose them championships, and he gets paid the most also. Like, I get that. But at the same time, there are certain people like a Kyle Busch, it doesn't matter how well you run or how good of a driver you are or how much you push yourself if the car isn't there. And some people never see the opportunity to get to a JGR car or a Hendrick car or a Junior Motorsports car for the O'Reilly Series. Like, no one ever sees that opportunity to get in that good of equipment. Look at Matt DiBenedetto. A guy who had a flash where he looked like, hey, he's talented enough to be in the Cup Series. And then look how his career ended. He almost won the race at Bristol in the 95 for Levine Family Racing some odd years ago. Had the opportunity in the 21 car for Wood Brothers. Had some good runs, almost won some races, got very close. Probably should have won some races. And then he got removed for somebody who, again, only was in that position because of his last name. You're telling me Harrison Burton was given the opportunity in the 21 car because he's just that good? He wasn't even nearly the best guy in the Xfinity Series at the time, and he got the opportunity in the 21 because of his last name and the name notoriety of, oh, he's Jeff Burton's son. And then what happened to Matt? Matt got shafted. He got sent to the Truck Series with a mid-level team in the 25. I don't even remember what there was like Rackley Roofing Racing or something like that. It was something weird. It was like Rackley Racing. Mid-level truck, ran mid-level runs. They expected way too much of him because he was a Cup Series guy. It didn't work out because of that. So then he got replaced halfway through one of the seasons. Went to Viking Motorsports, of course, a couple of years ago or whatever, or last year. When they were still a single car team. Didn't run that great. Probably his confidence had tanked at that point. And then he got bounced out. And now look at him. But oh, everyone will say, oh, he was a bust. He was never any good. Had nothing to do with the fact that he almost won a few races, ran pretty well for the equipment he was in. And he got bounced around so much that God forbid that it didn't work out. You know? That happens. Look at Josh Berry. Speaking of the 21, look at Josh Berry, somebody who probably should be continuously in a Cup car for the rest of his career. I think he's talented enough. Talk about a guy who's earned it. Busted his ass to work his way through the lower series for his entire career. Didn't get the opportunity till a lot later in the O'Reilly series compared to the other guys. Other guys are 18 years old, like William Sawalich, and they're already running O'Reilly Series races. Josh Berry had to take forever, and he's Dale Jr.'s friend. He gets one random opportunity in the 8 car for a couple races, and in those couple races, he takes the best advantage that he can, wins a race, earns himself a full-time ride, and then in a few years, he's running Cup Series races. And again, the luck of the draw, he happens to be in the 21 car, which is, Jesus Christ, I don't think anybody would sit there and be like, yeah, 21 car is great. It's Wood Brothers. They've never been great. They haven't been great in my entire life. They've been a mid-level team that's just stuck around my entire life. The greatest moment of the last 20 years of the team's existence was when Trevor Bayne won the 500 in 2011. I mean, and now he's going to get, and he had a decent run this past weekend at Martinsville, but like now, if I guarantee you, within a few years, they'll find somebody else and he'll get booted. Does he deserve to get booted? Absolutely not. He deserves to be in the Cup Series. I think he's a good enough driver, talent-wise, straight up talent-wise, to be a Cup Series driver, but yet he's not given that opportunity. So take this example. Say Josh Berry goes back down to the O'Reilly Series. He goes back to Junior Motorsports. He goes back to racing the 8, or maybe he replaces Justin Allgaier in a few years in the 7, or Carson Quaffle in the 1, or whatever. And he races in for Junior Motorsports in the O'Reilly Series for the rest of his career. He wins a bunch more races in the O'Reilly Series. Maybe he wins a championship. Maybe he does. If he has enough success in the O'Reilly Series after he inevitably gets booted from the 21, is he not a Hall of Famer? Because it just so happened that it didn't work out in the Cup Series because he was in the wrong ride that just didn't have speed? This argument is bullshit. This idea that, oh, somebody can't be in the Hall of Fame because they weren't a decorated Cup driver is bullshit. The sport, there's so many intricacies into NASCAR that is so different from any other stick and ball sport. And it bugs the shit out of me that these fucking people that are so obviously casuals that constantly make comparisons to stick and ball sports. Stop it. Fucking stop it. If you want to make a comparison to something, compare it to another motorsport. Maybe you would have had some legs to stand on if you made a fucking comparison to F1. But no, you didn't, because you're a fucking casual and you don't know anything about the sport. You don't care to educate yourself about the sport. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer because guys who are in the Busch Series, Nationwide, Xfinity, O'Reilly, they're not good enough. You want to know why Junior was so irritated by that too, by the way, and why they were like, that's such a fucking terrible take? You want to know why he said that to Travis? Because Dale Jr.'s most of his success and why he's a Hall of Famer, if you want to look at his statistics, is based off the fact that he has multiple championships in the Busch Series. Because let's be honest, if Junior didn't have those Busch Series championships, where are the legs to really stand on that Junior got inducted into the Hall of Fame as quickly as he did? I'm not saying he would have never been inducted into the Hall of Fame. He's won enough 500s and races in the Cup Series that he would have inevitably got in. But those 2 Busch Series championships that he got help rectify the fact that or justify, I should say, the fact that he got in as quickly as he did. So this whole idea that like the Truck Series doesn't count or the O'Reilly Series doesn't count, you're damn fucking right Junior was going to stand there and go, what the fuck is that? What'd you just say? That shit don't count? Fuck you. What are you talking about? That's an asinine take. Of course he's going to say that because that's a lot of Junior's success right there is the Busch Series. He's got 2 championships down there. You're just going to wipe that off the board and say it don't matter? Anyways, I'm done with my rant. I'm still getting over my cold a little bit from last week. I still have this like random cough every now and then. And obviously, if I talk a lot, like I just did for the last 50 minutes. Jesus Christ, I did an hour-long rant on that. Holy shit. All right, let's move on. I wanted to talk about this too, as far as, people getting upset over the, speaking of Justin Allgaier, the like dominance that we've somewhat seen in the Cup and O'Reilly Series. I'm going to take a drink here before I do this. A lot of people have been already kind of upset over the fact that, Toyota's out there just dominating every week, and it's unfair that Reddick's won 4 of the first 6 races and all this other shit. Listen, you can be upset as a fan. I don't really hear too many people complaining about Justin Allgaier dominating and doing as well as he has to start the season. But here's something I want to get out of the way also is, just so everybody knows and understands, go back and look at the annals of history as far as NASCAR. It's not every time, but a good amount of the time, the guy who's really good at the beginning of the season usually somewhat peters off towards the end of the season. Okay? There's been how many guys who have came in the first 6-7 weeks of the season? I did not mean to do that. It's in my vocabulary to say, those two numbers. There's how many times through the first month or two of this season, I should say, somebody will win 3 races right off the bat. And they'll be, I said Kyle Busch earlier. Kyle Busch had the first year with RCR. He won 3 races pretty quickly in the season, and he petered off towards the end. There's been years where Jimmy Johnson won 3 races very early in the season, and he sort of petered off towards the end. Brad Keselowski had those seasons where he won a couple races to start the season, and he petered off towards the end. He wasn't very good towards the end. This happens all the time. Now, am I going to sit here and say that like Tyler Reddick is not going to? He has no shot of winning the championship and he'll be terrible at the end of the season? No, because there's also been plenty of times where people have been dominant to start the season and then they've just continued their dominance throughout the entire season. But my point is, to all those fans out there who are freaking out over the Tyler Reddick dominance and the 2311 dominance and the Toyota dominance, pump your brakes a little bit here. This does not mean that Tyler Reddick is an automatic bid to win the championship this year. It does not mean that he's going to run away with it and he's going to win 10, 12 races. He's been fast to start the season. One, Chevy has a new front end. They have a new nose that they're still trying to figure out. Granted, I will say it's not like it's that different. There's very subtle differences to that thing. It's mostly just the same. So this whole idea that like Chevy's making this excuse that it's a game changer as far as the nose being different and that's why they're slow, I'll give you some leeway to that, sure. But hanging your hat on that completely and being like, that's why we can't find speed and we can't be top 10 without, a fucking Spire car doing it for us at Darlington. Like, I'll give you some leeway on that, but not completely. Number one. Number two, Toyota has been hot out of the gate. It does not mean that both Ford and Chevy can't catch up. This happens every year. Somebody starts hot out of the gate. They figured something out during preseason, as far as during preseason testing, wind tunnels, whatever. Guys can be faster in the beginning of the season. Hit the second half of the season, you run through those same tracks again. We're going to be back at Vegas later this year. We're going to be back at Phoenix later this year. We're going to be back in Atlanta later this year. We'll be back at Darlington later this year. We'll be back at Martinsville later this year. I guarantee you, just like it is every time, just because you're fast the first race does not mean you're going to be fast the second race. Because how many times were guys who are shit the first run around at a certain track to start the season, come back to that track, and they are dominating the second race because they figured something else out in that first race and they got themselves to be a lot better for the second race. Meanwhile, the guys who are dominant in the first race and running really well go, we don't need to change anything. We'll just come back with the same shit. And then they're behind because they were great in the first race and they showed up with the same thing. So I want to go ahead and make sure everybody knows and understands, hey, pump your brakes on the whole, it's the end of the world that Tyler Reddick is winning and it's ridiculous that he's got a 90-point lead. Like, calm down a little bit, all right? It's not the end of the world. I guarantee you that the gap will close. And Ryan Blaney and Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson and William Byron and probably Chase Briscoe and maybe even Chase Elliott and Christopher Bell, like all these guys, they will catch back up. They will catch back up. The gap will close. They'll win some more races throughout the season. All of a sudden, you'll get to like a 2-month gap where it's like Tyler Reddick's only ran top 5 a couple times and he's just been barely cracking the top 10. Where the hell did all the speed go? He was just dominating the first month and a half of the season. Where did all the speed go? I'm telling you, the gap will close. So I got Tyler Reddick number 1 in my power rankings right now, but I wouldn't be shocked if in 3 months he's not even in my top 10 because the speed will have fallen off that bad comparative to the field. I got a cough here. I got a cough. Hang on. Okay. So, that was mostly all the news. Let's go ahead and dive into the happenings from this past weekend. Martinsville this past weekend, a lot of people were skeptical because all the cup races have been shit there for the last, ever since the Gen 7 car, the next gen car was introduced. I mean, Martinsville especially has been awful. It's probably the best way, it's probably the nicest way I can put it. It's been awful. They have, the last how many years, they have made it to where it's been impossible to pass. It's all about qualifying. The only time you can really the only place where you can really make up time is on pit road, trying to see if other people can make pit road mistakes and therefore capitalize on it and trying to make up spots that way. I mean, he even saw it this past weekend, guys just trying to bump people out of the way. It was almost just, it's the same thing. It's the same car in a lot of different ways. Sure, it's a different package, but it's the same car, same durability, same everything as far as that goes. And so the idea of trying to bump people out of the way, I don't think it'll ever come back with this car. They'd have to change. They're going to have to go to the Gen 8 car and change it completely in a lot of different ways to try to bring back the true bump and run as far as what you see at short track racing, like a Martinsville or a Bristol or something like that. I just don't see. Maybe you'll see it at Bristol. And we got a couple weeks till we'll actually get to Bristol. So maybe you'll see it at Bristol, but I just don't know. You have a better chance of seeing the bump and run come back at Bristol with this car than Martinsville, because Bristol, if you bump somebody, you can. The idea, obviously, of the bump and run, for anybody who doesn't know, is not to just punt them up the track. It's more so to bump them up the track and maybe get them out of control just a little bit, get them a little bit loose, get them to where they have to kind of save it, lose a little time, and then you make the pass because of that. It's not all just about pushing them up a couple lanes and getting them out of your way. Some of it is also it's more so a subtle bump to get them out of control a little bit, make them save it, and then capitalize on it. So you have a better chance of seeing that at a Bristol with this car. Martinsville, no. Martinsville, the only way that a, quote, bump and run would work is exactly what I just said a minute ago, where it's you have to literally push them up a lane, or you have to hit them so hard that you push them up a lane, and then you get inside. And then even then, you're kind of also, in a lot of times, stuck side by side with them, so you almost have to hit them another time and kind of body check them out of the way. That's kind of what we've unfortunately had to see at Martinsville. And not a lot of guys that are in the Cup Series are willing to do that, because then if you do that too hard, guys can't judge it. If you try to bump somebody, they don't move. Like with this Gen 7 car, with this next gen car, you bump somebody, you're almost just pushing them forward. You're not actually pushing them up a lane, you're just bumping them. And the only way to really hit them hard enough to get them out of control is literally you're just dumping them. You're picking their fucking rears up and you're causing a caution, aka Bubba Wallace. So that's really what I think has hindered Martinsville in a lot of different ways. I also hate the shifting. I did an iRacing race at NIS this past Sunday. And, even in the iRacing race, you're shifting from third to fourth. Guys in the Cup race, I know Hamlin was one of the few that were staying in fourth gear the entire run. But others, everyone else, most people were shifting from third to fourth. They were shifting down into third going through each corner, and then they were shifting back into fourth as they went down the straightaway. I hate shifting at any oval. I think it's stupid. It's not NASCAR. It never has been, never will be. And this idea that you have to shift at an oval in order to try to be fast is stupid. I hate these sequential shifting and the idea that you cannot. I think it's because of the fact that they are, what's the term, OEM parts or whatever. You can't adjust the gearing ratio on them, so you can't, adjust the gearing ratio to where you shift into fifth and then you just stay in fifth. You don't have to shift. NASCAR's got to get on that. They do. I hate shifting at any oval. I think that it should be, they should have specific gearboxes if you want to make it to where, oh, you can't change the gearing ratio on the car or whatever. Then NASCAR's got to fix something about being able to go to these short tracks and having specific gear packages where, we can have a race at Martinsville where we're not shifting. So, as far as the O'Reilly Series race, we saw Justin Allgaier once again get the win, led 114 laps. I will be honest, I did not catch a good amount of this, but I have to say, because I was pretty busy on Saturday, Corey Day, the talk that he had, I guess, with Mr. Hendrick has really opened his eyes as far as being able to run a bit cleaner, and all of a sudden now he's running a lot better. He himself led 37 laps, finished second at Martinsville. Look, the short track, or excuse me, not the short track, the dirt racing that he's coming from might play a factor into how well he's ran since his talk. I don't know how much of it's car. I don't know how much of it is him. I don't want to fall into the same trap that I did with Ty Gibbs. I fell into the exact same trap with Ty Gibbs where I thought years and years ago when Ty was just beating up everybody in the Xfinity Series and was, the obvious dominant car every week, and was winning a ton of races, looking really good. I didn't want to fall into the trap again that I did with him where I was like, this guy's the next star. I thought that once he got into JGR, give him a couple years, he's going to be, winning races, winning championships, and be a true staple as far as competing for wins every week. That's obviously not been the case until this year, but Corey Day, I'm not going to fall into that same trap. I feel like a lot of it is car, as far as how well he's been able to finish these last couple weeks. Look, he's in a Hendrick car. Now, granted, it's a junior motorsports / Hendrick car, but I would not be surprised if Rick Hendrick's got a little bit more of a pulse on that 17 car versus the 1, the 7, the 8, and the 9 when it shows up. Or the 88, I should say. And the 9 when it shows up. He's got a pulse on that 17 a lot more. He's got a lot more invested in Corey Day, I believe. Justin Allgaier, like I mentioned earlier, he's an O'Reilly Series driver for life. Sammy Smith is not nearly ready for being Cup, and he'll probably, maybe, honestly, be an O'Reilly Series guy for life as well. Carson Quaffle, I think, could be a Cup Series guy, but I think we need another year of him in the O'Reilly Series before I'd see him even get an opportunity in Cup. And Raja Karuth is Raja. I think that he's an O'Reilly Series guy at best. So I think Rick has a lot more invested, obviously, in Corey Day. Obviously, Kyle Larson does. Kyle Larson's vouched for the guy, says that he thinks he's the next guy to be a Hendrick Cup guy. I'm pretty sure that's what he believes. And look, do I believe it? No, honestly. Like I said, most of my introduction to Corey has been him wrecking people. And that stigma is still there. And how he's gone about it after these races, that he's been involved in these wrecks and such, has really not been the best. His explanations to the wrecks that he's been involved in with, the Connor Zilich one at COTA is the prime example. I mean, he went on a rant about something that had nothing to do with the question he was asked. He was asked a question about his contact with Connor Zilich. He didn't even address it at all. He completely went away from it and started talking about the underbody of his car. I mean, I need way more time with this guy before I would even sit there and even contemplate like, okay, he's a legit Cup guy. I'm not saying that the talent will never be there. Maybe it is. Maybe it could be in time. I just need more time. Finishing second at Martinsville is a nice start. The finishes that he's had the last how many weeks, I don't know if it was a top 5 or a top 10 streak that he's been on the last how many weeks. Whatever it is. I I just need more time. And I think everybody needs more time. The one thing I will say is if he keeps running like this, he's going to be a championship contender. Right now, it's obviously Justin Allgaier, and it's the Justin Allgaier show. He's right now the championship favorite, I think, in most people's eyes as far as the O'Reilly series. But if you look at the talent, as far as, guys who could compete with Justin Allgaier, I mean, like I said, Sammy Smith is okay. I don't know if he's ready to compete for a championship. Sheldon Creed has shown more speed. I think if there's somebody that isn't a junior motorsports guy that could probably compete for the championship right now, it's Sheldon Creed. Ever since he's won that race, his first race of the season in Atlanta, he's had decent speed every single week. And that has been the one thing about Sheldon that I will give him credit for, is he's like Chase Elliott in the Cup Series. He's not going to win a lot of races, but he's consistent. He's consistently top 10, consistently top 5, consistently having speed every week, leading laps, somewhat at the front. So I think if there's anybody right now that isn't a junior motorsports guy that could compete for the championship, I think it's Sheldon Creed. Austin Hill, even though he finished 6th this week, I don't see, he's just got to show more speed at regular 1.5 miles and regular tracks. I know he led 9 laps this past weekend at Martinsville, and like I said, he had a top 10 finish, but he's had speed in the past at Martinsville and short tracks in general. He's got to show more speed at the 1.5 miles. He did not show speed very compared to what I expected him to at Vegas. And I hope that this next weekend at Rockingham will be very interesting. I'll be very interested to see where he finishes at Rockingham, because Rockingham is a whole different animal. It should probably be one of the best races all year. I cannot wait for that race this weekend. We'll get into that more later on, but it'll be very interesting to see I'm going to be very interested to see out of anybody in the O'Reilly series as far as how they do. I'm very interested to see how Austin Hill does, because if he's not running up towards the front, top 10, top 5, and he's kind of in that, like he kind of was at Vegas, where he's in that 12th to 14th range for some reason, then he's still not there yet. And he's still not a championship favorite. As far as some other guys like Parker, I like Parker Retzlaff. I've sung his praises for the last how many weeks. My concern with him not being able to compete for the championship is not his talent. It's the team behind him. Viking Motorsports has obviously taken a big step forward. They've looked pretty good this year. Both him and Anthony Alfredo. I got to take a drink. Hang on. They've both looked pretty good this year at times. And Retzlaff especially has looked consistently good every week. I just don't know if the team behind him is good enough to be fast in those chase races at the end of the season. So I think he'll be obviously a chase guy. I just don't know if he'll be competing for the championship. Jesse Love, although he won the championship last year, playoff system, probably shouldn't have won it. Connor was obviously the best guy all year. Jesse's a chase guy. I just don't know. Obviously, between the two of them, between him and Austin Hill, I think he's the more talented of the two at this point, and he's got the better chance of competing for the championship. I'm hoping that with Jesse, it's the slow start. Hey, we don't got the speed right now, but we'll find it at the end of the season. I don't know about him being a true like I said, I think he'll be top 5, top 4 at the end of the season competing for the chase, but it's those key races in the chase of, can you be fast, lead laps, win stages? Because now, remember, for the last how many years, winning stages in the chase, or, at the time of the playoffs, they meant nothing. I mean, once you got into the playoffs, the stages, winning the stages really meant nothing. Because at that point, everyone was just competing for wins, and all the guys that were racing for points were usually not going to win the championship anyways. So you're just mostly racing for wins. At that point, you're not caring about the points. With the chase format now, those stages in the chase are 10 times more important than they have been in the last 10 plus years of the playoffs. So it'll be very interesting to see how some of these guys handle those races as far as racing for stage points, knowing how much more important they are to actually getting you a championship at the end of the season. Looking down the list here a little bit more, JGR as a whole in the O'Reilly series, I almost feel like they're just behind. Taylor Gray is obviously the best out of all of them, but I just don't know if they have the speed to truly contend for a championship. I mean, Chevy is just owning, and I mean owning the O'Reilly series right now. And it's not just because of Justin Allgaier. Like, Chevy as a whole is just owning the O'Reilly series with the combination of Haas factory team and Junior Motorsports being Chevys. They have been clearly the top two teams in the O'Reilly series to start the season. JGR is well behind, and Ford obviously is non-existent, so it doesn't even matter. But that Toyota team is just behind as a whole. They've had flashes, obviously, of running pretty well, but I mean, there was the best example I can say is the thing at Phoenix where they all wiped each other out in the same corner. They're just all behind right now. But I think if anybody on the Toyota side that could truly contend for a spot here, maybe towards the end of the season, maybe Taylor Gray and that 54 team can find some more speed at the end. I just don't think Brandon Jones will ever be a guy to compete for the championship. He'll always just be a guy who exists in the O'Reilly series. And Sawalich is too far behind. He needs more time to develop. He needs more time to get better in the O'Reilly series. He's still very young. He just needs more time. Anybody else in here, like Harrison Burton, is a no. I don't think Sam Mayer has the speed to do it. He's very obviously the number 2 there in Haas factory team. Raja's a no. Carson, maybe. I know he was in the championship for last year. He's another one that, obviously, hey, you're a Junior Motorsports guy. You got some of the best equipment right now. You're going to be pretty good. I don't know how much of that fact that him and Raja, they just get fucking flung around like ping pong balls, all these different teams every week. I mean, one week the Carson's in the 1 and Raja's in the 88, and then another week Raja's not in the 88. He's in the 32, right? Driving for Jordan Anderson. And then Carson's not in the 1 anymore. He's in the 91 one week. And, you know, it's ridiculous in a lot of ways. So then there's another week when one of them's in the 9. Like, I don't know how much of that is really fucking them up, but at the end of the day, I think Carson is also somebody who maybe he could really give Allgaier a run for his money at the end of the season. He's got to just find that more specific, that more consistent speed that Allgaier's got right now, and he just doesn't have it comparatively. And then running down the rest of the board, there's just really nobody else. You're getting down to the Jeb Burtons, the Josh Williams, the Nick Sanchez's, who are just existing. So it'll be interesting to see once we get to the end of the season, if Corey Day can keep this speed up, comparatively to basically his teammates at this point. The Junior Motorsports teammates are his really only, competition besides Sheldon Creed. I mean, can he keep the speed up? Can he win some races this season? I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility if he's finishing second at Martinsville and he's keeping these top 10 and top 5s going. It's like the Ty Gibbs thing. He keeps these top 10, top 5s going, and he keeps running up front. At some point, a win is going to fall into your lap. Something's going to happen where somebody's going to fall into some sort of issue or pit road mistake or speeding penalty or whatever, and a win is going to fall into your lap if you're just up there all the time. So as far as the race itself, like I said, pretty good race. There was a couple of cautions that took out the Luke Baldwin thing. I got really no comment on. There's 14 cautions in the race. I don't really got too much specific to talk about in the race. Like I said, not too surprising. Justin Allgaier led 114, dominated most of the race, and stacks another win on the board. Looking at the standings, I'm trying my best not to look at the standings right now, but like I said earlier, you want to talk about somebody who's dominating. Everyone's talking about the Tyler Reddick domination. Guys, Justin Allgaier's got a 92-point lead on Jesse Love right now in second. 116-point lead on Sheldon Creed. You want to talk about domination. The guy's got 3 wins out the gate and nearly a 100-point gap to second place in Jesse Love. And here's the other thing, too. The gap of competition is a bit bigger in the O'Reilly series than it is in the Cup series. So you got to think that 100-point gap with Justin Allgaier, with how Justin's running now, and I highly doubt this is the last win he's going to have this season, there's a good chance that Justin might just lock himself into being the number 1 seed going into the chase. You know, we got ourselves an off week for the Cup Series this week, but we're already 7 races in. I mean, that's 26 races in the regular season. We only got 19 weeks. Now, that might sound like a lot, but trust me, this is going to fly by. And Justin ain't going to be showing up, you know, at Rockingham finishing dead last and then showing up at Bristol finishing dead last. Like, that ain't happening. That ain't happening. He's going to be running top 10, top 5. Even if he's not winning, he's going to be up there for sure. So, be interesting to see how the rest of the season goes. Right now, Taylor Gray is the last spot in the points, just ahead of Anthony Alfredo. Like I said, somebody who that Viking Motorsports crew has been running pretty well. He's only 20 points behind Taylor Gray in 13th. And then you got Sawalich back there in 14th, just a point behind Alfredo. So that gap, or not gap, that battle for the 12th spot, that top 12 spot to make it into the chase for the O'Reilly series is going to be very interesting, because you got to think about it. Right now, looking at the point standings, like I said, Taylor Gay's Taylor Gay. Sorry, Taylor. Taylor Gray. My bad. This is what happens when you try to talk too fast and talk too long. You mess people's names up. Taylor Gay. Oh, God. I should just start calling him that now. I should start calling him Taylor Gay. Oh, God. Anyways, Taylor Gay. I'm just going to start calling him that now. I don't care. He's got that 12th spot in the points, but you got to think about some of these names that are ahead of him in the points. Sam Mayer. He can easily have a couple bad weeks. Raja's in 10th. I mean, he's bouncing back and forth between Junior Motorsports and Jordan Anderson equipment. And I don't think of Raja as like the pinnacle of consistency as far as being able to run top 10s. He could easily have some bad weeks. Parker, I love Parker. I think he's ran great in the equipment that he's in, but again, the equipment can hold him back and he can have a couple bad weeks. Who's to say he can't show up to Rockingham this week and have a mechanical failure? It can very easily happen with the Viking Motorsports crew. You don't know. Brandon Jones, I don't trust Brandon Jones as far as I can throw him. He could easily have some bad weeks and drop some more in the points. And then you're getting up into Corey Day. I should call Corey Day Corey Gay. That's the real gay. But you got Corey Day up there in 7th. Sammy Smith, again. Funny enough, he's got himself 6 top 10s. That's just what he's been doing, is just being consistent. Carson Quaffles in 5th. Austin Hill 4th. Then you're getting into Sheldon Creed, Jesse Love, and Justin Allgaier. And then behind, if you go down to 13th back, there's no one really behind that I even look at and go, yeah, there's some real competition down there. Behind William Sawalich, I mean, you got Ryan Sieg, who's just another guy. I don't think he makes the chase. They just haven't had the speed. And I don't think they'll find the speed as the season goes on. Same thing with Brendan Poole. He's a mid-level guy in the O'Reilly series. That's 16th is exactly where he belongs. Jeb Burton, same thing. Staropoli is the same thing. Blaine Perkins, same thing. Dean Thompson, same thing. There's no one down here behind Sawalich that I would even consider like, oh, they can make a run here. at the end of the season run a lot better and maybe just barely eke themselves into the championship. I think 14th on up are the guys that I would consider to be chase contenders. And even Alfredo is an example of somebody who, look, he can run okay, but I mean, he's only got one top 10 on the season, right? Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, he's got one top 10 on the season. I almost feel like he's just hanging on by a thread. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like a lot of that is, look, he's getting what he can out of that 96 car. Don't know what he'll be able to do as the season goes on. I really think it is that 12th spot is ultimately going to be decided by William Sawalich getting in, and then one of those guys that I previously mentioned getting bounced. Taylor Gray, Sam Mayer, Caruth, Retzlaff, Jones. Any one of those guys could easily have some bad weeks dropping points, and they're going to be the ones in the cut line battling Sawalich for that spot. And very easily as well, Sawalich could be the guy sitting on the outside. Like I said earlier, Toyota has not been good comparative to all the Chevys. And then you compare, like I said, JGR. I mean, you got Haas Factory Team and Junior Motorsports who have looked better than JGR so far in the O'Reilly Series. So I'm excited to see how this weekend goes and how the rest of the season goes. Like I said, we got, with these guys, they got, actually, since they got 7, I don't know how many more races they have till we get to the chase. I'm trying not to cough. I really am not, but my throat's making me cough. All right, on to the Cup Series. A lot of people were talking about this has been the best. I saw some people saying, not everybody, but I saw some people saying this is the best Martinsville race that we've had in the next gen car. It probably is. I saw the most movement as far as guys moving up and down the board, but ultimately, look, Chase Elliott got the win. A lot to do, everything to do with pit strategy. Leading 84 laps. Denny was obviously the best throughout the entire race, leading 292. But also, again, I should point out how much of that is the fact that he qualified on pole. I mean, you look around, look at guys from where they started to where they finished. There was honestly not a lot of movement. Like I said, Chase started 10th, finished first. Denny went from first to second. Joey Logano got third. He started 9th. Ty Gibbs finished exactly where he started in 4th. William Byron started 2nd. He finished 5th. Blaney started 12th, finished 6th. Bell started 11th, finished 7th. Cindric went from 6th to 8th. Larson 13th to 9th. Josh Berry dropped the most here, it seems like. He started 3rd, finished 10th. SVG, another one. When you think SVG, do you think great short track racer? No. Started 5th, finished 11th. Now, the one thing I will say about SVG to defend him is, look, a lot of short track racing is obviously braking. And I think if anybody would be honest, like the one thing I think that makes SVG so good at the road courses is his ability to brake so much later and brake so much better than everybody else. So obviously that talent is going to relate into the short tracks. So it doesn't surprise me that he's decently fast at a short track. But again, 5th to 11th. And another example is like Ryan Preece, somebody who I fully expected, especially with how good RFK has looked the last couple weeks, fully expected Ryan Preece to be running top 5, top 3, maybe even competing for the win. He started 17th, finished 12th. Brad Kay started 23rd, finished 13th. That's a lot of spots to gain. Same thing with Chase Briscoe, 27th to 14th. Like, that's a lot. But a lot of these other guys, not a lot of movement. Ross Chastain, another one, started 18th, finished 16th. Didn't do a whole lot of moving. And the other thing, too, is when you're watching the pylon throughout the race, I mean, guys are not moving any more than a few spots, like 3 or 4 spots throughout a run. So, was it an improvement? Probably. Was it a major improvement? Not really. It's still mostly the same. Guys can't pass. Denny was making the excuse that he couldn't pass Chase because of fucking aero. listen, I'm going to cough here and then I'm going to make this point. This whole idea that, like, maybe aero does play somewhat of a factor into short track racing, but it really doesn't. It shouldn't. You're not going any faster than 120 going into the corner. I mean, Martinsville, aero should not be, or dirty air should not really play a factor. If fucking dirty air plays a factor at Martinsville, these cars should be exploded. Like, these cars should just be trashed. They probably should have been trashed how many goddamn years ago when they were first made. But if dirty air really does play a factor at fucking Martinsville, if it plays a factor at Bristol, that's still stupid, but whatever. There's more speed happening in Bristol. How fast are you really going at Martinsville? 110, 120 going into the corner? Like, it's ridiculous, this idea that dirty air could play a factor at Martinsville. But I know Hamlin was making that excuse. To me, I don't think it's dirty air. To me, I think it's just the fact that all the cars are so even. The braking zones are the exact same. The tire wear is not enough to where it can factor into where guys could have to save their tires and braking zones could really matter. I think it's still just mostly too same. And everyone's still too much the same. And so when you're doing the exact same thing at a short enough track like Martinsville, it's really hard to make passes and it's really hard to make up time. Yes, did the 750 horse package probably help? Yes, that's why I'm saying it. It seemed like the best Martinsville race that we've seen in the next gen car, but it's still a very small step. To me, if you wanted to say, if you're NASCAR and you go, we don't want 1,000 horsepower at every track, fine. Then put 1,000 horsepower on at Martinsville. Put 1,000 horsepower on at the short tracks. And when I mean short tracks, I don't mean Dover, because Dover's not a short track. I mean, when I say short track, I mean Martinsville, Bristol, maybe even Richmond. Like true short tracks. North Wilkesboro, true short tracks. To me, those are the ones that I would say, if you really don't want 1,000 horsepower at the 1.5 miles and the 2 mile tracks and the super speedways, then fine. Whatever. We can stay with the 750 for now. I'm still going to pester you about wanting 1,000 horsepower there, but I will be somewhat content with the 750. But if you really want to fix the short tracks like Martinsville and Bristol, North Wilkesboro, Richmond, to a degree, put 1,000 horsepower on there. I mean, like I said, you're not going any more than 120 going into a corner at Martinsville. You can put 1,000 horsepower into that car, and it really will not. It will not kill us. And any manufacturer should be okay with that. Any manufacturer any OEM that's a part of the Cup Series should be okay with that. That's just my opinion. But like I said, it wasn't the greatest race though. Like it really wasn't. It was okay. I can't lie. I found myself at times tuning out. As far as just like, I was like, not a lot going on. Hamlin's still leading. There's not a lot of passing going on. Everyone's just kind of stuck in line. There's not a lot of guys making it up, a bunch of time through the field. There was really only one major crash. And let's talk about this for a second. So this is a topic I wanted to discuss here, and I'll try to go through this pretty quickly because I don't want this to be 2 hours, but it'll probably turn into being 2 hours. The Bubba Wallace thing, look, there's this clip here I'm going to play of the only response to the Bubba Wallace crash that happened at Martinsville. For anybody who didn't see the race, there was a crash between Bubba Wallace and Carson Hocevar where it was a big pileup coming off of 4. Bubba, it was just off the restart. Carson made, honestly, a very good move, timed the restart perfectly. He got to the inside, he was behind Bubba Wallace, timed the restart perfectly, took a shot to the left going into turn 1, made it 3 wide, passed Bubba clean. Didn't touch him, didn't bump him out of the way, didn't do nothing wrong. Just timed it perfectly, got the best of him, and got by him off of 2. They go down into the corner in the next corner. They go into 3. Bubba's behind him. And you can very clearly tell, if you just watch the replay, that Bubba just completely dumps Carson. I don't know if he was frustrated. I don't know if he thought that Carson did something wrong. Or because it was Carson, he just thought, well, I can just dump him and it's no big deal. But he destroyed a bunch of cars. Ultimately, what was funny about this is Carson ended up finishing the race. He finished 17th. There were only 3 guys who had their races ended prematurely. Ty Dillon finished dead last with brake issues. And then the only 2 who didn't finish the race were Riley Herbst and Bubba Wallace. So this is the clip that was from DBC this week of fat ass who sits up in the spotter stands who just so happens to spot for Bubba Wallace. He went and addressed what happened at Martinsville.
There's not really any sugarcoating about it. I got to take Bubba for his word. He said he misjudged. If he misjudged, it was a really bad misjudgment, and it hurts. You know, I mean, we went from 3rd in points to now I think we're like tied for 8th with 5 other guys. So if you want to be a contender for the championship or a contender to be top 5, top 7, 8 in points, whatever it is, that can't happen. I feel like Bubba's really good at Martinsville. I mean, we won 2 truck races there. HOFer did nothing wrong. He took us 3 wide into 1 and passed us clean. If we're going to contend for top 10 in points, top 5 in points, we have to clean that up. We will figure it out, and we'll be better next time we show up at the racetrack. Unfortunately, it's the damn off week this week, so we don't get to go race in 7 days like we normally would.
How long are you going to dwell on it?
I dwelled on it all the way to Big Al's last night, and then I got over it.
Well, I'm glad you're over it. Listen, I understand he's going to defend his boy. Anybody who expects anything besides that is stupid. Of course he's going to sit there and defend his boy. It's the same reason why he defends Denny Hamlin to the ends of the earth. It's because Denny Hamlin pays his paycheck. And so it's no surprise there's no benefit to him going on his podcast and just bashing his own driver. You know, he's a spotter. At the end of the day, he has to defend his guy. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he had the balls to go on his own podcast and call out Bubba and just be like, he fucking flat out drove through him. It was the dumbest shit ever. Like, it cost us the race, and like just called him out completely. I know for a fact that like he'd be fired or he'd be moved to somebody else's team. He'd be fucking spotting for Riley Herbst back in 35th. Like he wouldn't be Bubba's spotter anymore. Let's put it that way. So it doesn't surprise me that he didn't call him out. Anybody who expected, like I said, anybody who expected otherwise is a bozo. But looking at this objectively, if you just watch the video, it is so obvious that Bubba just got mad. Either at Carson, mad at the car, mad at himself, mad at something. He got upset. He let his emotions get the best of him, and he just fucking dumped Carson. I mean, he just drove through 3. I mean, the commentators called it out. They were just like, they basically were like, what the fuck was that for? He just dumped him. He just wiped him out for almost no reason. He just drove right through him. I mean, you want to talk about driving through something? That is driving through somebody completely. There's no misjudging that. You don't go 200, 300, 400 laps and then with like 50 or 70 or whatever it was, 80 to go, you fucking just, I misjudged it, and you just slam on the gas and drive through the guy who's so obviously got every car that's ever existed in front of him that's stopping him from going. He had a gap to him. He got upset. He got mad, whatever it was. And he just drove through him. And what's funny to me is like all those people who are Bubba Wallace fans out there are like, y'all are racist because you don't like Bubba. It's like, no, I don't. The reason why people don't like Bubba is not because he's a black person. The reason why people don't like Bubba is because of shit like this. It's because of shit like this is why people don't like him and why people get a bad feeling about him and why he rubs people the wrong way. It's because of shit like this. Listen, that whole thing at Vegas that he pulled a couple of years ago with Kyle Larson where he just flat out dumped him into the grass and then got so mad at Larson that he went up to Larson and started shoving him in the infield. Look, I'll be the first one to say that Larson looked like an absolute bitch after that. He looked like such a cunt. He looked like such a pussy after that incident with Bubba. But, at the same time, Bubba looked a little bit ridiculous himself. Where the contact that he had with Larson, albeit stupid and unnecessary, was not that big of a deal. His own team owner called him out for that one and said he wildly overreacted. Because he obviously did. He fucking just run-hooked him, by the way, into a Toyota teammate that ended the Toyota teammate's day in Christopher Bell, who I think was one of the best cars that day at Vegas. Ended Christopher Bell's day. And then Bubba gets so mad that he goes down, confronts Larson, and then just starts shoving him and yelling at him. And then there's stuff like this at Martinsville where you just go, yeah, it was dumb. It's just dumb. And there's shit like that as to why people get such a bad taste in their mouth about Bubba Wallace and why they're not willing to like want to cheer for the guy is because he does shit like this. And like here's the thing that I will give fat ass credit for is he did call Bubba Wallace out in the sense that, look, you guys just went from second in points to, I'll actually look it up because I'm pretty sure it's worse than eighth. Yeah, he's 11th in points now. He's not even eighth. He's 11th in points now because of that. Bubba's not the 23-11 driver who's got 4 wins on the season and an 82-point gap to second place right now. He's not in that position. He's been the one that's on the short end of the stick every single time as far as coming up short on wins this season. He doesn't have that buffer to work with. He doesn't have that chance to be able to just ride on his laurels and be able to be overly aggressive and make mistakes like this. He doesn't have that. He's now 11th in points. All these weeks, the previous month and a half, the previous 6 races that you guys have had, making up that point gap to Hamlin, Elliott, Byron, Gibbs, Bell, Keselowski, Larson, Buescher, all these guys that you were beating for week after week after week, consistently having more speed. Wallace has had more speed than Buescher, Larson, Keselowski, Bell at times, Gibbs at times, Byron, Elliott, Hamlin at times, Blaney at times. Like there's a reason why these last how many weeks I've had him second in my power rankings is because he had the speed. He really has. And then now in like 2 weeks, it's just gone away. It's evaporated. And this one is all his fault. It is all his fault. He let his emotions get the best of him. He very much well overreacted. And he's now ruined his points gap that he has to the rest of the field. He's back there with Joey Logano. No one in their right mind is going, Joey Logano's having a great season. Last week, he couldn't even crack the top 30. And yet you're right there in par with fucking Joey. tied with Chris Buescher for 10th. So, I mean, or actually, yeah, I take that back. It is a 4-way tie. I didn't notice the points. Brad Keselowski, Kyle Larson, Chris Buescher, and Bubba Wallace are all in a 4-way tie right now for 8th place. But he's the 4th name on the list, so he's technically 11th. My point being, like, that is exactly why people don't like him. It has nothing to do, maybe, you know what, there are people, obviously, that hate him because he's black. Not denying it. This is NASCAR. There are racist people. I mean, there are racist people everywhere. And there are people that hate him because he's a black person. Sure, absolutely. I will just speak from my personal beliefs. My personal beliefs are not anything to do with him being a black person. And why I don't like him a whole lot is nothing to do with him being a black person. My whole deal as far as not liking him is because of shit like this. Is because of the overreactions and doing stuff like this that if Carson bumped you out of the way or almost, dumped you or almost wrecked you or something like that, that's one thing. But when a guy just beats you straight up on a restart and gets the best of you and puts you in a tough position 3 wide, that's not his fault. He beat you straight up on the restart. So what? Get better on the restart. Like, you got bested. If you got bested on the restart, back out, get another position on him, get a run on him, and pass him back. Don't freak out like a 5-year-old, like a guy playing NASCAR Heat, overreact and just go, I'm just going to wreck him, and then just straight up dump him for no reason. And for all the people that Carson has had a problem with, Bubba Wallace's name is not coming to mind as far as somebody who Carson's had a problem with here this year. So it's shit like that as to why Bubba really doesn't have people liking him. You can lean on it's because everyone's racist. Anybody who doesn't like Bubba is racist. No. It's not a race thing. It's a personality thing. It's your actions thing. I don't like you because of your actions. I don't like you because of your personality and the stupid shit you do on track like that. That ultimately isn't harming anybody else but yourself. To his spotter's point, good job, bro. You went from 2nd in points to, on the list in Racing Reference, 11th, tied for 8th. Because you decided to freak out and do something stupid because you couldn't keep your emotions in check. You went from 2nd in points to 8th in points. You lost 6 spots in points because of that. All these previous 6 weeks of decent finishes, stage points, consistency went away because you couldn't keep your emotions in check. That's on you. And you can try to make the excuse to anybody who will listen that I just misjudged it. Didn't mean to do that. I just misjudged it. You didn't misjudge it. You did that shit on purpose. And anybody with 2 eyes can see that. It's the same reason why people don't like Denny Hamlin. Why Denny Hamlin, even though all these years of, like last year, he, guilt tripped people into wanting to see him win the championship because of his dying father. He had everyone wanting him to win the championship because of that. Then he goes and just walls Ryan Blaney at Martinsville. Just completely walls him. And even Denny's excuse about it in his podcast, I can play the clip, but it's just a very small explanation of just like, he was like, Ryan was just on my right recorder panel and, I was already coming up the track and we got together, and once we got together, my car went to the right, which in some ways I understand, but also at the same time, there's a part of me that just thinks he wanted to just drive up the track and almost force Ryan to get away from him, force whoever was on the outside of him to just get away from him so he could clear and drive away. It's a dirty move. It's it's a tactic, and it's something that he meant to do. It was not an accident. He meant to do that. And anybody who's seen Denny Hamlin race for the last 20 fucking years of his career has seen that that's a move that he makes. So that doesn't surprise me at all. But with that being said, like I said, congrats to Chase. The one thing I will say also, addressing Chase Elliott, can we stop this? Can this now be the thing that calms down all those quote Chase sexuals or all those fucking weirdo Chase Elliott fans? Yes, I'm talking about you. All these weirdo people that are Chase Elliott fans that freak out over the littlest things that come to him. Everyone's shouting from the rooftops, Alan Gustafson shouldn't be fired. He shouldn't be Chase Elliott's spotter. He shouldn't be Chase Elliott's crew chief anymore. They got to get him out of there. That's why Chase isn't winning races. No, Chase isn't winning races because he's been the second or third best guy at Hendrick for the last how many years. That's number one. Number two, Alan Gustafson is a very good crew chief. Just because the cars aren't there and they're more of a consistency crew than a winning crew doesn't mean that he's no good. Doesn't mean that he shouldn't be their crew chief. I'd pick Alan Gustafson just as easily as I'd pick Cliff Daniels. Cliff Daniels is a big contribution to that 5 team is his ability to pep talk. That's his big contribution. Maybe he's a smart guy that I don't know about, but it seems like his big contribution to the 5 team is just his ability to keep Kyle Larson in the zone no matter what happens, and his ability to pep talk is second to none. I will give him credit for that. If you listen to him on the radio, anytime that something bad happens to Kyle Larson, his pep talk to Kyle to try to get him back in the game is second to none. Really, it is. Allen, I get the vibe that this 9 team, again, they are second or third in Hendrick, seemingly every week. Chase is good enough to consistently get them consistent finishes, consistent top 10, consistent top 5 finishes. Always be good as far as points racing. This is why Chase is 4th in points now. And always be somewhat close to contention. As far as if a couple guys slip up, he'll be right there for the win. I'm not saying it's every week. There's plenty of weeks where, he's running 15th. And this is why, again, he's second or third in Hendrick, depending upon the week. But he's not somebody who's going to win every week. He's not Kyle Larson, where he can win 10 races in a season. He's not Denny Hamlin. He's not. There's times where he's not even William Byron, where William Byron is, he's seemingly kind of taking the next step. Now, granted, he doesn't have the championship, to back it, but I won't be surprised if William gets a championship here in the next couple of years, maybe if not this year. So Chase's thing is not winning races. It's more so points racing and consistency and top 5s and top 10s. And he'll get a win every now and then. This one he kind of fell into. And this is why I say, hey, for all those people who bashed on Alan Gustafson over all these years since Chase's championship in 2020, the guy is smart. He made the right fucking call here. And a lot of this was luck, yes. Again, the race kind of falling into his hands as far as the caution coming out in the right time. But this is the deal. Crew chiefs can only predict so much. And sometimes you make the right call and sometimes you don't. But I really don't think that Hendrick would not have Alan Gustafson in that spot if he wasn't cut out for it. If he wasn't a good crew chief. The crew chief for Jeff Gordon for how many years? Jeff loved him. Thought he was an amazing crew chief. Was happy to have him as his last crew chief in his career. If Chase really thought that Alan wasn't good enough to be his crew chief or thought he was the reason why the team was being held back, I think Chase would have the ability to go to Mr. Hendrick and go, yeah, it ain't working out with Alan. We need to make a change. As far as I know, he's never gone to Mr. Hendrick and asked for that. He's never complained about Allen. He has never said that we need to make a change. As a matter of fact, in his post-race interview, he said that he told Mr. Hendrick, "See, I told you we were okay. We're good." So maybe it's a matter of Rick Hendrick thought maybe we need to make a change with the 9 crew, and Chase went to Mr. Hendrick and said, "No, we don't. Just give us some time. We'll figure it out." But all you Chase Elliott fans need to calm down. Allen's a good crew chief. That crew is good. Chase is good. They're fine. They're doing exactly what Chase Elliott can do and will do. Consistent good finishes, top 10, top 5s, almost every week. Good enough speed, and get a win every here and there. You know what I mean? Like, he's not going to win. Like I said, he's not Kyle Larson. He's not Denny Hamlin. He's a tier below them. Speed-wise, talent-wise, everything. He's a tier right below them. He'll win races. He'll have plenty of top 10s and top 5s, and he's great at points racing. But that's his role. So, that being said, let's dive into our top 10 from this past weekend's race at Martinsville. My power rankings from last week at Darlington were as follows. I had Tyler Reddick number 1, Ryan Blaney number 2, Ty Gibbs number 3, Bubba Wallace 4, Chase Briscoe 5, Chase Elliott 6, Denny Hamlin 7, Christopher Bell 8, Brad Keselowski 9, and Kyle Larson at 10. That was following Darlington. So this week, a couple changes here. Let's go ahead and run through the power rankings. I'm making a small change here right before I give it to you. And I'll tell you the change I did here in a second and why. But let's go ahead and run through my top 10 following this past weekend's race at Martinsville. We will have a nice small break since obviously the Cup Series is off next week for Easter. So there will be no new top 10 following the Rockingham weekend coming up. But at number 10, small change here. I have to give Austin Cindric the bump. The number 2 car has been running a lot better these last couple weeks. Surprisingly better. Very surprisingly better. I understand, look, part of it was the qualifying run from this past weekend being finishing 8th and qualifying 6th. Probably part of it was that. But at the same time, this 2 car has all of a sudden found some speed these last couple weeks that it has not had in years. So we've been waiting to find either the 22 to kind of somewhat finally find the old speed that Joey Logano used to have, or maybe the 2 could step up and fill that number 2 role at Penske, because it's so obviously the 12 is the clear number 1 in that crew. But although Cindric was the 3rd best car out of the Penske crew to finish in 8th at Martinsville, he's had a couple of good finishes these last couple weeks. Had a good finish, like I said, this week at Martinsville. Good finish last week at Darlington, which was honestly the most surprising one of the 2. So I have to give Austin Cindric a small credit there and give him the 10th spot. Number 9, William Byron. I don't know why I didn't have him in my top 10 the last couple weeks. I think it was just because he's been so quiet. Good run last week at Darlington. Had decent speed at Vegas. Again, decent speed this week at Martinsville. Wasn't race-winning speed, but he ended up finding himself a 5th place finish. He qualified 2nd. Kind of hung around the top 10, top 5 for the first good amount of the race, and then kind of fell off there towards the end. Didn't have the speed that Denny Hamlin had, obviously, and I don't know if anybody did. But Byron finished 5th this past week at Martinsville, so a couple of good finishes, I think, deserve him to be in the top 10. So he's at number 9. Number 8, Chase Briscoe. Boy, you're hanging on by a thread, man. I have continuously kept him in my top 10 because he continuously shows speed every single week, and yet he still can't get the damn finish. I keep waiting for him to get the finish. I keep waiting for him to just put it all together to have race-winning speed, not have any mistakes, and finish well. And if he does that, I'm telling you, he's going to win a lot of races this season. I think he could win 3-4 races this season if he could just figure it out. If that team could figure out how to put a fucking race together. But that 19 car cannot put a race together. He drops to 8. He had a terrible car for most of this race in Martinsville. And that, honestly, another thing, held him back. Was slow all race. He had gotten lapped at points early on. He was the one out of the JGR crew who just didn't have the speed. Now, he was able to salvage a 14th out of it, but I mean, good God, if it's not one thing, if it's not race-winning speed that they fuck up, it's they don't have race-winning speed, and then they have to just scratch and claw their way to get a decent finish. A top 15 at Martinsville, like, expected way more from Chase, and expected way more, especially considering the speed comparatively that his teammates had. They just missed the mark. It was like a Joey Logano situation from last week at Darlington, where they just missed the mark completely, and they didn't have the speed. But he salvaged the 14th, so I'll keep him in the top 10. But in a couple weeks, hopefully Chase over this off week can figure out how to put that 19 crew can figure out over this off week how to put a race together. That's your guys' homework assignment for the off week. Number 7, Bubba Wallace. Had him, where did I have him last week? I had him 4th. I have to drop him to 7. Crashed out, all to his own doing, like I said earlier. Overreacted, and look, he didn't really have the greatest speed in the race. Was a teens car for most of it, and expected more, especially considering the practice times that he had on the 20 and 25 and 30 lap runs. Expected him to be a bit better, but bad qualifying, never made up the spots. And like I said, pretty much wrecked himself out of the race. So he gets punished a little bit for that and drops to 7. Number 6, Christopher Bell. Another one just hanging on because of the simple fact he's had good runs the last how many weeks. Not a great run this week at Martinsville. It closes the gap a little bit more. Honestly, he didn't drop more because of the guys I have behind him. He's got his Toyota teammates behind him creating a buffer as to why he didn't drop more. He ended up having a decent finish, though. He finished 7th. Again, another guy who just kind of seemed like he was existing. Just running around near the top 10 for most of the race. Not really impactful. But then again, there wasn't too many people that were too impactful in the race. So, can't ding him too much for that. Number 5, Ty Gibbs. I know he technically drops a few, which might be a little bit unfair, but it's mostly just due to the fact that the guys ahead of him are all guys that have won this season. He is the top guy right now, in my opinion, out of people who have not won a race this season so far. I know points-wise, he's sitting 6th, so he's technically behind William Byron, but he's got 4 top 5s compared to Williams' 2 top 5s, 5 top 10s, which is just as much as both Ryan Blaney and Tyler Reddick. Those are the only guys who have 5 top 10s this season so far through this first 7 races. He's had race-winning speed at times. This 54 has found something out of nowhere. Like I said, especially seemingly right after, of course, the whole JGR Chris Gabehart lawsuit thing. All of a sudden, Ty's found speed. So, I mean, hey, good for him. If he could just figure out how to be a normal dude in interviews and, you know, the way he conducts himself, I think he'd have a lot more people on his side. But he is a top 5 racer right now. And like I said, literally the only reason why he's not still 3rd is because the guys ahead of him have won races. He's the top guy right now who has not won a race yet. Number 4, Chase Elliott. I have to bump him up because he won the race. Mr. Consistency has found himself a W, which is not too surprising. I don't know how many more races he's going to win this season, though. I just don't see race-winning speed out of the 9 consistently. I just don't. I think he's a true points racer. Like I said earlier, he's a guy who's going to finish top 10, top 5 almost every week. He's done that so far this season. Comparing him, obviously, to the others, He's had 4 top 10s and 3 top 5s. Hasn't led a whole lot of laps. I mean, the only one out of the guys who have won races that have led less laps than him is Ryan Blaney. And honestly, the 103 laps that he's led, what was it, 84 of them? Yeah, 84 of those 103 laps that he's led have all came at Martinsville. So it's not like he's running up front, leading a ton of laps, and the wins just haven't came yet. He's been consistently top 10, top 5, like I said, and that's where you kind of expect him. But he gets the win at Martinsville, so therefore I got to put him in the top 4. So number 3, and this is the small change I made. I had Elliott at 3, but I moved him behind Denny Hamlin, and I put Denny Hamlin at 3 because the more I thought about it, the more I said, look, Denny was the fastest car at Martinsville. He led 200 plus laps. If it had not been for the pit strategy, to be quite honest, Hamlin probably would have won the race. It just happened to be wherever you position yourself at the time of the caution. He got lucky, or Chase got lucky in the sense that the caution fell right for him, and it got him an opportunity to be in the lead, or I should say ahead of Denny Hamlin, and he had just enough speed to hold on and beat him to the line. So I had to put Denny back ahead of him. He also has a win. He's had way more laps than Chase Elliott has, and he's been way faster consistently every single week. I mean, look at this. Tyler Reddick, who's won 4 races this year, has 189 laps led. Denny Hamlin, who's only won 1 race this year, has led 444 laps. The next closest person in laps led is Christopher Bell at 225. So, in all actuality, I probably should have Denny Hamlin at 2, but I'm not bumping him up that much compared from last week to this week. I'll probably bump up another one here in a couple weeks after Bristol, but we'll see. But I have Ryan Blaney at 2, and maybe I shouldn't. Like I said, maybe I should have Denny Hamlin at 2, but I have Ryan Blaney at 2. He has been Mr. Consistency the last how many weeks himself. A lot of the thing of, I think this is the reason why I subtly in the back of my mind had Blaney ahead of Hamlin, is because Blaney has had, if you want to talk about somebody who has been hindered by his team, Ryan Blaney is the prime example of this. They showed a stat in the Martinsville race. His crew is second to last as far as rankings among all pit crews. This includes the Cody Ware 51 crew. This includes the Cole Custer crew. This includes the Stenhouse crew. This includes the Noah Gregson crew, the AJ Allmendinger crew. This includes the Front Row Motorsports crews. Like, this includes the low-end teams. He is second to last. His crew has cost him 70-some spots on track. Imagine that. Through the first 6 races of the season, his crew has been so bad that they have cost him 70 spots through the first 6 races. That's like an average of almost like 11. Well, we're 7 races now. So if it's 7, it's an average of like 10 spots a race that he's losing. That is so insanely bad that it baffled me when I first saw it. So I think the reason why I certainly had Blaney ahead of Hamlin is because of just the fact that in the back of my head, I said, this guy is been put through the ringer. And the fact that he has a win and he's still running well. He had a 6th place finish this week at Martinsville. He had a good finish last week at Darlington, all things considered. Like, he has been put through the ringer as far as how bad his team has been. So Ryan Blaney's at 2. And of course, again, until we see some more bad runs out of Tyler Reddick and somebody else really running better, I got Tyler Reddick at 1. Guy's got 4 wins, still running decently. It was kind of off this past weekend at Martinsville, but it's been kind of a known thing that Reddick hasn't been very good at short tracks. But a 15th place finish 1 week is not enough for me to take him out of my number 1 spot in my power rankings. I need a couple more of those before I'd move him down. So there's your top 10 heading into the off week. Tyler Reddick is 1, Ryan Blaney 2, Denny Hamlin 3, Chase Elliott 4, Ty Gibbs 5, Christopher Bell 6, Bubba Wallace 7, Chase Briscoe 8, William Byron 9, and Austin Cindric sneaks in at 10. So yeah, no Kyle Larson. I had Kyle Larson in there last week. No Kyle Larson this week. We'll see how the rest of the season goes after the off week. I'm not doing a 5. Obviously can't do a 5 to watch for the Cup Series, so we'll do a quick 5 to watch for the O'Reilly Series heading into this weekend at Rockingham. Here are the 5 to watch in the O'Reilly Series. Number 1, I have to obviously put Justin Allgaier. 90-some point gap to second place in the point standings, has been dominant as far as being the best guy in the O'Reilly Series so far to start the season. I have no belief, or I have no reason to believe, that Allgaier would just fall off this weekend at Rockingham. Expect him to be good. I expect Jesse Love to have some speed at Rockingham. I just have a feeling that Love kind of been a little bit off these last couple weeks. I feel like Rockingham would play well into Love's skill set. Sheldon Creed, the same thing. Creed has consistently had top 10, top 5 speed every single, I shouldn't even say top 10, top 5 speed every single week, especially ever since his win in Atlanta. He's had speed, and so I would expect nothing less from him at Rockingham. I wouldn't be surprised if Creed gets a win at Rockingham. And I hate to do it, but Corey Day's got one of the most top 10s out of anybody in the O'Reilly Series right now. He's been consistently in the top 10, top 5. Whether you want to say it's because of his equipment or not, don't know. At the end of the day, he's finished second last week at Martinsville. He seems like he's cleaned himself up a little bit these last couple weeks. We'll see how Rockingham goes. It seems like a different animal as far as how you'd race that track. But I'd have no reason to believe that Corey Day is going to back off anymore as far as speed-wise going to Rockingham. So those are the 4 to keep an eye on. Allgaier, Love, Creed, and Day. I picked one underdog. I have to pick Parker Retzlaff as my one underdog to keep an eye on going into Rockingham. That 99 car has had speed, top 10 speed everywhere that they have went. And considering it's Rockingham, it's a whole different animal for this O'Reilly car. We haven't been to Rockingham in how many years? I would not be surprised if that Viking Motorsports crew just hit something right, and maybe they had a lot of speed, top 3 speed out of nowhere. I mean, they've had top 5, top 10 speed the last how many weeks? That 99 car specifically has. So I would not be surprised if Parker Retzlaff spent some extra time in the sim this week and was able to figure something out as far as being able to have maybe, just maybe, this is why he's in the underdog pick, maybe some race winning speed. So that's going to do it for this week's episode of Coop Radio Presents NASCAR Stuff. We did go over 2 hours, 2 hours and 13 minutes. So I appreciate everybody for sticking around this long. I saw we had 20-some views for last week's episode talking about Daniel Dye. So hopefully a lot of people will tune into the Hall of Fame talk and listen to the first hour of the show. If you guys stuck around this long, I appreciate you greatly. Anybody who listens to me for this long is a saint. I can't imagine that somebody would want to listen to me for this long, but hey, if you do, leave a like, comment down below that you made it this far, and you let me know if your ears are bleeding from listening to me for this long. I hope you all enjoy the episodes. I'm still putting in a ton of emphasis, Jesus Christ, enthusiasm into these. I'm still loving doing this, so I'm obviously going to keep doing it. Hope you all continuously keep tuning in. Next week will be a lot more low-key, probably be a shorter episode with no Cup Series to talk about. So getting ready for Bristol in a couple weeks, but I'm really excited for these races this weekend at Rockingham. The Truck and O'Reilly Series, the O'Reilly Series especially. That O'Reilly Series race, I'm so excited for. You're talking about the best car on a track like Rockingham. That's going to, if you don't usually watch the O'Reilly Series, which I can't imagine why you wouldn't, watch this week's race. Seriously, this is going to be one of the best I'm predicting it now. I think this will be one of the best races of the season. I really, really do. I'm so hyped for this race. I can't wait for it. Happy Easter, everybody. Happy pre-Easter. Enjoy time with your families. Go have some food and enjoy some good racing at Rockingham. I'll see y'all next week. Take it easy.